Thank you for inviting me to do this at the start of an exciting new adventure in the field, not just for you, I think. And so congratulations to Rini, Janet and Adrian for getting this off the ground. If I go completely tangential and just tell you a story, this little speech is a mixture of light and serious, and let's hope I get the balance right. On a plane to New York in the mid-70s, I was on this plane to New York, and I left my seat to go further down the plane, because in those days you didn't have videos at seats. You just had one screen hanging from the plane, so you had to go further down. Anyway, the film finished, and I went back to my seat, and there was somebody in it. And so I said, I think this is my seat. And the man got up, and it was Alistair Cook. One of my heroes, a letter from America. And so when an iconic broadcaster, and embarrassingly, I found myself saying, rather gushingly, "You're Alistair Cook, aren't you?" And you know the way you do these things, and you think. And then he walked away, and I thought, "Oh, Barry, it's over the top in the way I said it. It's like a celebrity hero." Anyway, yesterday I was in a cafe reading The Observer, and I came across the article and photo, and what a good photo, eh? Featuring Rini, and I just about stopped myself from turning to the people at my table and saying, "I was her boss once." But it would have been said with enormous pride. What I was to discover in working with her was her ability to be very inclusive in her manner and the way she worked with clients and professional staff. But she didn't shy away from taking risks, or a willingness to explore the unsaid in her cross-cultural work and in her work in general. And it's something I've also been struck by in reading Janet's work about the very same kind of thing. You aim for inclusivity, but you don't shy away from exploring difficult areas. We're psychotherapists. If we're not willing to explore difficult areas, you might as well just give up. That's the nature of the beast. And both of them have the skill to be able to offer a safe place without playing safe. And I think that's something very important. And I'd become interested in this area, and in 2002, as Rini said, published a book with Alice Sawyer on cross-cultural work and taking risks. Now I'll switch to, this is a tour. You're now, let's switch to Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And I'm in a bookshop in Portland, Oregon in 1992, and it's called Powell's second-hand bookstore. It's the largest second-hand bookstore in the world. And it's just amazing if you've been there. And they have this enormous Black Studies section, bigger than any library I'd seen over here. And so I wander around and I pick out various books, and I sit down and I was reading bits of them. And I start reading one book, and the author I've forgotten, because I'm having the book I bought, and it's somewhere in the house, but it's being redecorated at the moment. And one book, the author, a black university lecturer, is at a party with university colleagues, most of whom are white. Everyone is being very polite with him, he says. He feels that, but there's a distance between him and them. And he writes that there are white people who are obviously racist, in some of the things they say and how they behave, but also there are white people, he feels, who make a great effort to say and do the right thing. They try to be inclusive, but at the same time, in playing so safe, they emotionally disconnect. And there's a lack of intimacy. So white people, he said, need to take more risks, what I call relational risks. And that it was only by doing this, he said, that people could feel they could contribute to a greater sense of intimacy cross-culturally. And in taking up this decision for me to commit myself to doing that, I discovered that in my risk-taking, even if I was perceived to say the wrong thing, that people recognize, hopefully, that I am making mistakes from a position of integrity rather than from a lack of integrity. That, and when you take risks, of course, you're more likely to, perhaps not fit with people, but hopefully, most of the time, you're going to help develop a much more richer sense of intimacy. So how, these ideas and this sort of commitment also then started to affect and have an impact in my clinical work. So I'll just mention a sort of couple of clinical vignettes which hopefully show me taking a bit more risk than I certainly used to. I live in Stoke Newington, which some of you I'm sure will know, and in the Stoke Newington Stamford Hill area, and that area is, it has the highest number of strictly Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox Jews in Britain. And for years I'd been living with them, but been very separate from them. And they passed me by, but no talking. I trained at IFT, the first person from the Orthodox Jewish religion in Britain to train as a family therapist. So this issue, which I mentioned about, don't go there, it's a culture, I started to challenge a bit. And also I started to have a view that about the mantra, which I thought was an unhelpful mantra around respect, that saying I respect your beliefs was actually me being dishonest. And actually, because I don't respect everybody's beliefs, and I don't expect them to respect all of my beliefs. But we try to find bridges across difference. And so I notice I've changed my language, and I say, well, sometimes they'll say something which I don't respect, say around gender, and I'll say, well, I appreciate, or I acknowledge that you are coming at it from a different angle to me. So I try to find a way of joining with them, so inclusive, but at the same time, it's taking the risk of not just going along with, well, I respect everything, all your beliefs. I mean, you get to the ridiculous situation of, well, you have to respect the beliefs of a racist. We wouldn't be doing that. So I was working with this man, and sometimes his wife, and he came one day. His main work was with him, but sometimes I'd work with both of them. And he came one day, and he said, he was just on his own, and I just said in chit-chat just before we started, I said, how's your wife? And he said, she's ill in bed. And so, knowing that he wouldn't cook, I thought I would be a bit Batesonian in terms of, what's the term? I've forgotten it. Dear me, come to me. Serious play. And so I said to him, I said, so are you doing the cooking for your wife? And he looked at me as if I was off another planet. And I wouldn't have done this years ago, but I just thought, challenge a bit. So he said, no, he said, it's not in me. He said, it's not. I said, it's not in you. He said, no, it's not in me. So I said, what? Genetically? It's not in you? And he sort of smiled. And this is about the 5th session, by the way, so I did have quite a good relationship with him. And I thought I could take the chance. He said, no. And I said, what, religiously? And he said, no. And I said, well, I've got an idea, because in the work, we talked about this framework I have where, committing yourself to experimenting with difference. So I said, remember that, what we talked about? And he said, yes. I said, well, how about, experimenting with difference? And says, how about if you cook for your wife? And he said, okay. And I think at that point I was pushing quite hard. There was a new approach to therapy at the time, which I termed empathic bullying. And anyway, so I said, what are you going to cook? What are you going to cook? And he said, something like meatballs, spaghetti meatballs. And I said, okay. I said, and then I was really into this myself, so I thought I'd really go a bit further. And I said, so, okay, but there's one condition. You must make your own sauce. I have no idea why I said that. But anyway, I was just pushing. And in a nice way. Anyway, so he says, okay, and then we continue with the session. 2 weeks later he came back, and I said to him, how did it go with the meal? And he said, oh, my wife got better. And you have that sort of, I noticed, in terms of self-reflexivity, that sort of like heart sink mate, it's like disappointment. But he added very quickly, but we did it together. Change is small, as we all know. It's not the sort of that massive thing that makes a difference at times. It's just those small things and a willingness to go beyond where you think you can go. And I think that's a sort of basis not only of sort of cross-cultural work, but our work in general. It's about risk-taking. It's about being, welcoming people in and engaging with them, and providing a safe place, as I said before, but not just playing safe. And I'm sure all of us here do that to a large extent. But very much strikes me that that's our mission as psychotherapists, that we should help people articulate and take risks and work with what comes out of that. So anyway, that's just a little vignette, or a few vignettes from me. So just say again, all the best with the new centre. Thank you very much. Thank you.